Here we go. I did get episode 51 on the screen this time. This is the Teal Shirt Report podcast live streaming about the Florida Gators. I mean, some people call it ridiculous. There's another team playing on the other side of the field, and they want to win. They want to win. 16 Alabama after losing to Florida State. Man, Bama returned to form and had a huge win actually. So you never know. College football is interesting. Got NIL now. There's too many teams in the SEC. Probably got 16 teams. 16. Let me see if I can pronounce this. You got 16 teams now in the SEC. I always thought that was too many teams. I was never in favor of Texas and Oklahoma coming in, but a lot of people, like it. But the fans have got to realize it's like a time bomb ticking. Somebody's going to beat you. Like quarter night at the pub, right? So, and the Jags, prepared to open the season against the Carolina Panthers at home. Last time I checked, the Jaguars are 3.5-point favorite. Let me know what you think about the Florida loss. It was not good if you were a Florida fan. Can Napier and Florida rebound from this? Well, they rebounded last year after the Texas A&M loss, had a week off. A little bit of a different situation this year. It was a bad loss. Texas A&M loss was a bad loss last year, but now you're getting into a situation where this is a mid-major that you lose to. South Florida could be maybe one of their better teams they've had in the last 5 to 10 years. There is another team on the other side of the field that does want to win the game. It was a low-scoring game. Florida just didn't score enough points to win this football game. Play calling, Napier, he probably should have hired a UOC in the last year and a half, 2 years ago. He's going to call the plays, I believe, till the cows come home or he gets fired, whichever comes first. So did he turn it around last year? Yes. At the open date, he did with the UCF game. And then after that, really the only huge disappointing performance was the game against Texas when Florida got blown out, but they didn't have their starting quarterback last year. Florida won enough games, in my opinion, and estimation, to Napier to keep his job last year. What happens this year? The schedule is no easier. The schedule is the number one or the toughest schedule in the country last year. It's pretty close to that again this year. Tremendously tough. We'll take a look at some other games. Again, the Jaguars open the NFL season, and we talk about the Jaguars. As you know, this is the Teal Shirt Report podcast. We talk about the Jaguars. This is episode show number 51. I'll salute Kevin Hardy and Dick Buckles, probably the best guys to wear 51. If you know of somebody else to wear 51, let me know. Ray Lewis wore 52. I remember asking my dad one time back when Ray Lewis was playing. This was in his early days when he was starting to move in his prime. I said, who's the best defensive player? My dad actually said Ray Lewis. This was before all the trouble he had in Atlanta. I think before Ray ever won a Super Bowl. And Ray Lewis wore 52, unless he wore 52. 51, Dick Butkus. Kevin Hardy of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and another guy I like that wears 51, Ventrell Miller. Leaves it all on the field. Great effort, great leader. And Forsythe Alacum and Ventrell Miller, I love their effort. We need more effort from those guys. Defensive line, man, they got to look at themselves in the mirror, and it starts today at home. The Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Carolina Panthers. Last time I checked, the Jaguars about a 3.5-point favorite in the game. Can the Jags win this game? Can they win it? Well, they've got different weapons. Brian Thomas Jr. is in his second year. Travis Hunter, they hunted him up, traded up for him. What does he do? One of my fantasy leagues, I had a choice. A guy said, "Oh, Travis is projected to get 1 point more than this guy. Let's put Travis Hunter in there. Let's put Travis Hunter in there." And I did in one of the fantasy football leagues. I had to cut it off. And how many leagues am I in? But fantasy football is a lot of fun. Whatever you think about fantasy football, let me know in the comments. What do you think about Florida's absolute different? Florida Gators lose to South Florida 18-16. Alabama lost to Florida State, but now Florida State's Division I. They're not a mid-major like South Florida is. On the quarters in the glass, tasting, kind of reminiscing old quarters night down at the pub. So, a time bomb ticking, could it be like the quarters in a glass? Could it be like that? Nope, there's tough games coming up. There's tougher games in South Florida coming up, and that's what's got people really concerned. Wouldn't you think? I stopped the music, I believe. The old guitar player out for his. We appreciate you guys tuning in. Please comment in the comment section. It was a spitting incident that I absolutely missed, and then somebody framed it for me. I think it said it. And yeah, the guy should be suspended 1 to 3 games. I don't know his history. I don't know his behavior, past or anything like that. But, can you find a guy who's getting NIL money? I'm assuming all these players are getting some kind of NIL money. These are college football players. I don't think they get fined. I could be wrong, but I don't think they get fined. They can get suspended from a game. Does that even affect their NIL deal? I wouldn't think so. But the kid's going to get suspended for a game, I would think, at least 1 to 3 games, maybe. And if he ever does an incident like that again, he's going to be kicked out of college football. That's my opinion. That's my absolute opinion. South Florida 18, Florida Gators 16. Jags open the season with the Carolina Panthers. Kick off at 1:00 p.m. Partly cloudy, about a 60% chance of rain. In Jacksonville, some of the humidity coming back like it was in Florida. High today near 90. Low temperatures, lower 70s late tonight. We got down to only, I think, 75 this morning, but a 60% chance of rain. Field could get a little wet during the game. We'll see. Could this be one of those actually agonizing games? Well, what would make it not agonizing would be Trevor Lawrence throwing a touchdown pass to Brian Thomas Jr., throwing a touchdown pass to Travis Hunter, not turning the football over, protecting the ball, and we get good performance from the offensive line, and the defensive line holds up. He does some things, creates some havoc, makes some extra tackles that they haven't made the last year or two. That's my opinion of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, I could go up, and I probably should. Let's take a look at if there's been any change in the line, because we're live right now. This is a live stream. I do understand they play these streams back after we finish with them, but they're always, for the most part, available. Jags and Carolina Panthers. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Carolina Panthers. Kickoff today is absolutely at 1:00. We'll check in with our source, and I'll take a look at the source and see what the point spread is on the game. Last time I checked, it went from 3. Jaguars favored by 3 to 3.5. And right before kickoff, we're a couple of hours before kickoff, 2.5 hours before kickoff. Let's take a look at the line from our source here. Let me take a look here. Okay, where's our source at today? Okay. Let's see if, let's see if I can find it. And we had it earlier. Last time we checked on this game, the Jaguars were 3.5-point favorite. You know what that is. It's basically home field. Let me try to find this again. Okay. But last time we checked, the Jaguars are 3.5-point favorite on their home field at Everbank Stadium. And just want to check to see if my line has changed any, what fans' opinions are. Carolina struggled the last 2 or 3 years They're in a tough division with Tampa Bay and Atlanta. Who else is in that division? AFC South. We've got Carolina, the Atlanta Falcons, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and the New Orleans Saints, right? So let's take a look. I think I found it now. Let's take a look at point spread. Let's get the latest point spread on the game. We are live. It's a live stream right now. Let me pull up where we are here. Thank you for tuning in the Teal Shirt Report podcast. This is episode show number 51, a continuation of the last live stream. Kevin Hardy won 51 for the Jaguars. Played at Illinois in college. Was drafted by Tom Coughlin. Great player. Very good NFL linebacker, Kevin Hardy. Dick Butkus was probably the best linebacker. There's an argument. Probably one of the best. He's in the top 5, top 10 Hall of Fame, Dick Butkus. It was a different era, man. They would have thrown no flags on Butkus in this era. No doubt about that. So let's take a look at the line on today's game. Kickoff is 1 o'clock. Jacksonville Jaguars and the Carolina Panthers. And the line has grown. How about this? The line has grown to 4.5 points. Our source still likes the Jags to win. Remember the spread and the total will go under. The under-over is like 46. So our source says play the under. If you're going to, this is just for informational purposes only. The Jaguars spread has now grown to 4.5 points that they're favored by at Everbank Stadium today. Kickoff 1 o'clock. It was about a 60% chance of rain or something. The point spread has absolutely grown, right? Okay, college football, man, it's interesting. Everybody's mad. They got pitchforks trying to get Napier. They want him gone after the South Florida loss. Currently, here in I call God's country, Jacksonville, Florida. Currently partly cloudy, warm, 75 degrees was our low temperature this morning. Got a little later in the morning, Sunday, September the 7th, rain chance of 60% in North Florida. Partly cloudy with some humidity returning and a 60% chance of rain. Some rainfall could be heavy today. We might see a thunderstorm or two. High today near 90. Low late tonight around 73. 75 was the low this morning. Wind is not a factor for the game. They'll be northeast to east. About 5 to 9 miles per hour. Some other college football, South Florida Bulls. This is what we're talking about late last night and this morning. South Florida Bulls 18, the Florida Gators 16, a final on Saturday, September the 6th. Any additional thoughts about the Florida Gators? Coach Billy Napier, college football, the Gators, the Jags. Leave us your comments for the Jags win today. Your prediction. The line is moving up. A lot of people like Jaguars at home. At least the Vegas, what's going on in Vegas, it looks like there's some action on the Jaguars. The point spread has grown from 3 to 3.5 to 4.5. Jaguars are at home. It'll be interesting to see what Travis Hunter does. He's going to start on offense. He may play defense as a quarterback in situational times of the game. My guess would be when the other team is in the Jaguars' red zone, perhaps. Or do you think it's other situations than that? That would be my guess, and probably how I would play it if I was in charge of how much playing time to give Travis Hunter on defense as a cornerback. College football, Bama back on track. Alabama did score 73 points on Louisiana Monroe. Alabama 73, Louisiana Monroe nothing. It was just, about a week ago that Alabama lost to Florida State, 14 points. South Florida 18, the Gators, Florida Gators 16. Florida falls to 1-1. FSU starts out at 2-0 now. How about Florida State? They're not playing Texas A&M. They played East Texas A&M. Florida State 77, East Texas A&M 3, a final on Saturday, September the 6th of 2025. FSU now 2-0. So Bama's back on track. Alabama was leading that game 42-0, and they eventually won the game 73-0 over Louisiana Monroe. Oklahoma beat Michigan, and now out of the blue, Oklahoma has to be a team that they're reckoned with. They might move into the top 5. South Carolina has looked pretty good at times. We'll put together the Big J Report SEC Power Rankings. Florida's got a drop now because of the loss to South Florida, even in the conference game. Florida has absolutely not played a conference game yet. Final score of the Oklahoma game was Oklahoma 24, Michigan 13, the final on Saturday. September 2025. Jaguars now absolutely a 4.5-point favorite. About a week ago, they were a 3-point favorite, and a couple of days after that, it went up to 3.5. And now, before kickoff, all of a sudden, the money's going on the Jaguars, and they are a 1.5-point favorite. Is Billy Napier cooked, or is this just a bad bump in the road? It could be like a dead skunk in the middle of the road, like the old song, right? Gators haven't even played an SEC game yet, but overall, Florida's 1-1. It was South Florida 18, Florida Gators 16, the final score. So that is some of what is going on right here on the Teal Shirt Report podcast on BigJReport.com. Episode show number 51. We salute Kevin Hardy, and Ventrell Miller, a current Jacksonville Jaguars linebacker. It'll be an interesting game today. The Jaguars hosting the Carolina Panthers. Both of these teams came into the league at the same time together back in 1995. Does anybody remember the Jaguars regular season game? I was there. I think I sat on the 35-yard line, had good seats. Boys to Men sang the national anthem for 1995. And the team the Jaguars played way back then was the Houston Oilers, who beat the Jaguars 10-3, I believe it was, in that game way back in September of 1995. What a great year that was. Now, what is this, 30 years later, Jaguars still playing in the NFL. There's hope for another season. I think we got a comment also. We'll look at that. Your comments are welcome. What's your opinion on the Gators? What's the future of Billy Napier? If he doesn't turn it around, yeah, he'll get fired at some point in time. But they've only played 2 games, and they're 1-1, and they've not played a conference game yet. Does it get rougher once Florida gets into the SEC season? Is it a ticking time bomb where we're throwing quarters into the glass until something happens, whether it's magnificent or tragic, like a coach could get fired later on? We'll see. The coffee's outstanding, Coffee Boy. Thank you very, very much. We appreciate that. Florida Gator football, the schedule doesn't lie. I mean, the schedule, everybody said it was the Florida Gators played the most difficult schedule in college football in 2024. Napier won more than he lost, and he won enough to get the job. Now he's got to regroup the troops at 1-1. Now, in my opinion, you're going to have a game like a South Florida now and then, but you hope when you have a championship season like the Georgia Bulldogs did back in 1980, take a look at Georgia's game. They played in a lot of close football games, but they went undefeated. I think the schedule was 11 games back then. Now it's 12 games. Back then, there was probably 10 teams in the SEC. Now there's 16 teams in the SEC, including Texas and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma just beat Michigan. I'm not giving you all the scores, but we're going to analyze it all. Come up with the BigJReport.com SEC Power Rankings, and Florida will not be in the top 5 anymore. As I've kind of alluded that I thought they could be, and they basically were. Especially after Bama laid a rotten egg against Florida State. Texas scored 7 points with Arch Manning on the road at Ohio State. Unbelievable. Check us out at BigJReport.com, our Neighbors 2 section. We've got concerts around North Florida, We also check your weather page. We're brought to you by Saucer Realty and Capital for your real estate needs right here in North Florida. Again, that's for your real estate needs in North Florida. And we want to thank the MadMaxMix.weebly.com. I love Max's show. I go on Max's show basically at least once or twice a month, probably twice a month, where we get interviewed by Max about BigJReport.com, about college football, NFL, but a lot about music too. Max does really a request show. The MadMaxMix.weebly.com on Wednesday evening, 6 to 8 Central Time, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock Eastern Time. Then a night after Max's show, you've got JC's Live from the Pub Show on a different entity with LakeUFallTheHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good. So our sponsors have been so good to us. Saucer Realty and Capital, the MadMaxMix.weebly.com, and Lake Fall the Hits, LakeUFallTheHits.com. Great internet radio where it's all good, and the sponsors are on our ticker. Where does college football go? Well, Florida's got 4 games in the next 5 weeks. We've got LSU, Texas, Texas A&M, and Miami. Maybe not in that order. We'll pull out the schedule on our next podcast, but that's the 4 games. That's brutal. And we're not even talking about Georgia yet. Georgia's on the Florida Gators schedule too, down the road, right? So it's not going to get any easier for Billy Napier. But one thing I was trying to mention is sometimes you have a game like a South Florida, a mid-major, a lower echelon team, and the game is close. And if you get out of there with a win, consider yourself lucky, and you can go on and play better the next time around. I hate to say it's a trap game because Florida, who did they blow out the first game? I'm going to call them the Long Island Ducks, but no, they're the Long Island Sharks. Used to be known as Long Island Blackbirds years ago when they played, I think, basketball, but not football. But the Long Island Sharks should beat them like a drum. What was it, 55-0? Florida won that game. I believe that Florida scored in the 50s and won the game like 55-0. Then the next week, is it a trap game when you're thinking about, well, we got LSU coming up? Man, you got South Florida this week, and South Florida just beat you 18-16. And yes, wrapping it up here with a couple of things. Billy Napier is back on the hot seat, no doubt about that. He's very much on the hot seat. Woo, that's getting hotter. Woo, touch a stove. Sometimes I touch the bottom of the coffee pot when I'm trying to clean it when it's on. Woo, that's hot, man. Let me run my finger in a little cool water. Man, Coach Billy's on the hot seat. He is, and everybody knows it. He's got to turn this thing around like he did last year, at least, right? We'll see what happens. 4 tough games coming up in the next 5 weeks for Florida. They got, maybe not in this order, but LSU, Texas A&M, and I think Miami's in that group of 4 games coming up too. And Billy's got to get more creative on offense. It looks like the defense, the Florida Gator defense has now improved over the last year and a half. Because it was the Florida Gator defense was horrendous like 2, 3, 4 years ago. It was just horrendous, but it seems like they've improved some of that. We've got high school football scores up on the website at Big J Report. Roll the homepage. You'll see more Florida news and high school scores. Roll the homepage. My Ed White Commanders won the Battle of the West Side. Ed White Commanders, 65, right? Ed White Commanders 65, the West Side Wolverines 0. Man, how about those Ed White Commanders? That's going to do it for episode show number 51 of the Teal Shirt Report podcast. I want to thank our executive producer, JC. Also, Alex Nunnery. Alex is not a happy camper with the Florida loss. And I think Alex got irate over this thing. Yeah. I want to thank JC, our executive producer. Lake Paula High School won their game, but Lakeside lost. Those scores are also on the website at BigJReport.com. On high school football, we cover Jacksonville, Duval County, North Florida, South Western Georgia, and that little pocket of corner south of Alabama. Most of those scores from high school football on Friday night are up on our website at BigJReport.com. We cover the Florida Gators. Gators sadly now 1-1. Looking at film, some highlights right now. and the Jags get ready to play the Carolina Panthers. Who gets time at running back? It's going to be ETN, Bigsby. I've taken a look at the fantasy football rankings, and some of the people seem to think Tank Bigsby might get as much full playing time as ETN because they some leagues have Tank Bigsby. Maybe they think he'll be the goal line guy and score more points. Then you got Bray Schultz, who in preseason showed he was a hard guy to bring down. Really. Hey, you tuned in to the Teal Shirt Report podcast, the Teal Shirt Report Fantasy Football League. The Kansas City receiver, what's his name, Xavier Worthy, man, he didn't do jack for me in my game. That's what kind of caught against the Coffee Boy, Teal Shirt Report Fantasy Football League. Xavier Worthy, man, he did squat. A goose egg up on my fantasy football league team in the Teal Shirt Report podcast fantasy football league. We're going to do it. We're going to do it for the Teal Shirt Report podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great day. This is a live stream, but you can watch it again. Thank you for watching. It's got your host for the Teal Shirt Report podcast.